Hey guys, how are you? I'm sitting here with my friend Mel Gibson and his Braveheart sword behind me, and I have a question for you. Has there ever been a time in your life where you may have said or done something and you picked up your Braveheart sword and maybe swung it in an argument or a tiff with somebody and maybe cut them to pieces and had to deal with the outcome of that, whether you meant it or not? I know I have. And here's a story in the Bible where Moses did as well. In Numbers chapter 20, they were at the wilderness of Zin, the children of Israel and them, and they didn't have any water to drink. So the children of Israel came to Moses and argued and complained to him and basically said, we don't have any water. And so they went, Moses and Aaron, to the Lord and inquired of the Lord. And the Lord said, if you speak to the rock, I will give them water from that rock. But Moses and Aaron gathered the assembly together before the rock and said to them, hear now, you rebels, must we bring water out of this rock for you? And Moses lifted up his hand and he struck the rock twice with his rod, and water came out abundantly, and the congregation and their animals drank. But then the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, because you did not believe me or hallow me in the eyes of the children of Israel, therefore you shall not bring this assembly into the land which I have given them. In this situation, Moses misrepresented God, and Moses demonstrated in an unholy way. He demonstrated God's anger and wrath toward the children of Israel, and God was never mad with them. He just told them to speak to the rock, and it would have overflowed. Well, I know over 20 years ago, there was somebody I knew who I thought was a Christian and they weren't. And in an act of hypocrisy, during an argument, I wielded my sword and I cut somebody to pieces, not meaning to. And when I did, I realized I had wronged them. I didn't realize how bad I did or that I misrepresented God because I didn't know they weren't Christians. But I asked their forgiveness, which they never gave me. Well, almost 21 years later, just 3 weeks ago today, one night I was talking to a pastor in California and went home that night after a regular conversation and went to bed. And in doing so, the Lord had shown me that I misrepresented him, and that's why they used that act of hypocrisy as an excuse to not follow God. Immediately I repented, confessed before the Lord. The next day I contacted them and I asked for forgiveness, and they never responded, but at least I did my part. Well, in the Garden of Gethsemane, the night that they were going to arrest Jesus and take him, because he had to, go and die on the cross for you and me, Peter did the same thing. He wielded his sword and cut off Malchus, the high priest's servant's ear. And what did Jesus do? Jesus picked up his ear and put it back on him. And that night, the night that I realized this was also at another Bible study out in California 2 weeks ago tonight. And the pastor said, have you ever said something that hurts somebody and that actually seemingly pushed them away from Jesus Christ? Well, understand this, that God, no matter what you say, and if they turn a deaf ear, God can pick up their ear and put it back on their head and give them ears to hear again, no matter what you've done. What that did was that relieved me of any pressure, of any problem, of anything that I've done to harm somebody else, because now it was between them and God again. So I guess my question to you is, have you ever been cut to pieces? If so, God can take your ear, if you've turned a deaf ear to him, and put it back on. And if you've done that to somebody else, just know that God can redeem that situation and forgive you for what you've done. God bless you. Take care.